there, witches. Are you ready for the witches' ball? Hi there. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Beth at Spiral Path, and today it's a little gloomy and overcast. I have been working on my picket fence. I started with a couple days of power washing it, both the inside and the outside, the street side and the house side, and then I think I'm on day 2 or 3 of painting it with a power sprayer. Got the exterior, I got both sides all completely painted, but I still have to put a second coat. And I've had to take breaks here and there because it's really hard physical labor to do, even with power tools. So I was going to try to finish it today, but I woke up to overcast skies and a bit of rain. So I decided, hey, that's the universe agreeing that you don't need to work every dang day on a hard physical thing. So I decided to work on this little project, little Halloween-y project. Got a Halloween shirt on, fortune's told here. I've been wanting to do one of these for a long time, and I was going to make my own pattern and do a whole tutorial and put the pattern up, but a little Googling, and I found the perfect thing. And so I'm like, well, why reinvent the wheel when someone else has already done it? And this was from Fleece Fun. I don't think there's only the one photo, which is just the little girl in the hat, which is adorable. What I wanted in my witch hat was a nice broad, like portrait brim, you know, that frames the face nicely and kind of has some wire in it so it's curvy. And, you know, a big place to be able to embellish and make pretty. So I found this on YouTube, and I will put the link in the description below so you can make one too. And I watched her video, and her instructions are very good and very well done. So I'm just going to do this. Now, if you've never done one of these PDF patterns, they come, I mean, unless you take them to somewhere like, you know, I was going to say Quickie Print. Is that even a thing? Like, you know, a printing shop. You could have them printed on large paper and then just cut them out. But if you have them just printed on regular printer paper, you have, I think, 24 sheets of paper that you have to tape together and then make your pattern. So that's the guide of how to do it. So I'm going to sit here and tape these together, and then probably, we'll see. If I well, maybe this first, well, shoot. I think what I will do is how I do for most of the patterns that, most of my sewing projects, especially if it's something that I think I'll make again. I will tape this all together, and then I will get my tracing pattern material. It's like a really lightweight, non-woven interfacing. And I put it over, and I take a Sharpie and I trace it out on that, and then I cut that out, because then I don't have all these pieces of paper that are taped together and flip-flopping all around. It's very durable. I can pin it. You can even use it as a muslin and sew it if it's for a fitted pattern. I don't need to do that with this. And then it won't tear. It doesn't wrinkle. It's really great for to make reusable patterns. So that's what I'm going to do today. And then I'll show you. I don't know how much of the hat I will actually get done today. We'll see. But I'll take you along for the whole journey, and then you can go and download this pattern and watch her YouTube video. Give her some love. I right now cannot remember her name, but it's Fleece Fun, I know, is the name of her channel and her website. She's got a lot of really cute tutorials and patterns, so give her some love if you would. Okay? So, yeah, this is my creative mess, my eclectic mess. Yeah, this room has become a holding room for everything from the parlor and the front hall while I worked on that project. And I haven't worked on anything creative in a while. So I can't even get to my sewing machine currently because it's underneath that pile, bunch of stuff. And this closet, I put everything away and now I have to find everything. And so I'm going to have to do a little straightening before I get to work here, I think. And I'm also going to open the curtains so I get a little better light in here because it's a gloomy day. So yeah, let's find what we need for this project and make some space with which to work on it. So somewhere in here is a remnant of black velvet, that stretch velvet that I picked up at Goodwill. I also had picked up this chunk of, it's actually quite a bit, of black tulle, and I was thinking like a tulle skirt would be cool. But I can't find the black velvet anywhere where it would logically be. The problem is that I have in the back of this closet, right behind, in the corner back in there, 2 big bins of fabric. But I can't get them out because of this shelf unit that's right here. So I'm gonna have to take the shelf unit out. Why I didn't put wheels on the shelf unit before I put it in there for this very reason, I don't know. So that's next. Empty the closet. So I think I found the piece. It's pretty wrinkled. I can't tell if it's supposed to be crinkle velour. I don't think it is. So it's gonna take a light steam iron or something. And I'm not sure it's enough, but I think it will be. I didn't have to take the actual shelves out. I just ended up, as you saw, climbing back in there. I'm not going to put everything back in there because, well, I might put some things back in there. Yeah. I have to come up with a better solution. Or, I just need to sew all that fabric into something. And then I won't have to store it. That's silly. What seamstress, what crafter, what maker doesn't have bins and bins of random stuff? So, but while we're on the topic of random stuff, this is what's inspired me and made me want to make a witch hat forever. This is like it's part of a Halloween costume, and I swear my daughter, she was in elementary school, I think. She wanted to be a witch, a traditional witch one year. And we found this at a Halloween store. It's attached. And it was like it's like a petticoat, but she wore it over like black leggings and a black shirt for like the school parade when it was a little chilly. Got a little elastic waist. But I don't know if you can you see that the fabric is like cobwebs. And it has this wire hooping in it, which I think will work perfectly for the brim of my hat. That's what I kept thinking. I actually thought about making like a lace witch's hat out of it, but I couldn't. I thought a whole lot of like, see what I'm going for here, like what I was thinking. I'd have to put a lot of wire framing in it to make it like stand up. So I kind of nixed that idea, but this is going to decorate my hat. Let's get cracking. I guess you can't make a black witch hat without a black cat helping you. At least that's what Lilith says. Okay, hopefully this microphone is working. So you may have noticed when I pressed the fabric, I pressed it from the back initially. Not very hot because it's a, I don't know, it's polyester of some kind. I didn't want it to melt. But I also, didn't want it to melt, but I also didn't want to crush the velvet. And then I flipped it over and just using the steam from my iron, I hovered the steam iron over it to just steam out a few more of the wrinkles. Something I've learned about living alone, you can't blame anybody else when you can't find stuff because you're the one that put it away. Which in my sewing room has been the case for a very long time. So I just got to own the fact that I never know where anything is. So when I trace these, there are two lines for cutting. There's one for fabric and one that is a little slightly smaller for the interfacing. Because this takes a iron-on interfacing, the very stiff interfacing, which I also thought, I swear to you, I have an entire bolt of Decor Bond, really heavyweight, really stiff interfacing. Can I find it today? No, I cannot. So anyhow, I am going to putz around and figure it out. And I have this fusible fleece. It's not going to be as stiff, but I think it will work. If not, I will have a floppy hat, and that will be fine. So when I traced this, I traced a piece for the fabric, a pattern for the fabric, and a pattern for the interfacing. So I'm just gonna, because it's actually kind of a nice feature of this pattern to have the two different pieces, because otherwise you gotta just remember to trim your interfacing piece on the seam parts just slightly smaller. So like these will nest into each other and there won't be any interfacing in the seam allowance. Set those aside. Set a kitten aside. Now something that isn't on this pattern, which I don't know that it's going to matter, it'll kind of matter because of the nap of the velvet. I want, there's no grain lines. My darling, you don't make for a really good helper in this instance. Except this is one project that if you get most of your hair on it, It won't cause a problem. Ow, don't bite me, you little stink bottom. You gonna get off? No, you're gonna attack me. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Well, I gotta fold this fabric in half. So also cutting duplicates, well, the under brim isn't gonna matter, which I don't think. I'm trying to think. So my velvet goes that way. Yeah, velvet goes that way. Yeah, that's how I'm going to do it. Okay. Sometimes I have to think aloud. Kitten, I'm going to go get the spray bottle. Ha, 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 ha. You going to get down? There we go. Okay, I want to double this fabric for the brim. Oops. And another really nice feature of this pattern that I liked why I chose this pattern is that the brim of the hat is not just a big round circle. It's slightly narrower in the back and wider on the sides, so you have the nice picture hat look. And that will be perfect right there. Let me double check. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I will line that up on there. This pattern also takes bias binding for the brim of the hat. I'm not sure what I'm going to use for that. I'm sure I don't have any pre-made. Well, let's look. Don't you hate it when you're watching somebody do somebody else's tutorial and they don't have half of the like proper ingredients or materials, and they're like, well, I didn't have that, so I did it this way, and then they weren't happy at the end when how it turned out. Yeah, I get really frustrated. It's like, well, if you'd actually followed the tutorial, it would have worked out just fine. But I have black twill tape, but I don't think that's going to be wide enough. All right, so I'll probably either, oh, wouldn't that be fun? Well, that might be a decoration. I don't think that's going to be flexible enough to go around edge as a binding, unfortunately. Maybe. Well, and I don't think it's long enough. No, it's definitely not long enough. Okay. But this is one of those cases of, I live 45 minutes from the nearest craft store, fabric store now. So just running over to Joann's or something is not really an option. And I also just kind of wanted this project to be something that I do for fun, to use up some materials that I've had and I've always wanted. A nice, cool witch's hat. And I've actually had opportunity in the last few years when I lived in Chattanooga. I went to some Samhain and Halloween events and witches retreats that the other gals had these awesome witches hats. And I was like, man, but of course, being me, it's, man, I really want one of those, but I know I could make it myself. So I didn't have one. I will have one now. Now I'm debating. So this hat pattern comes with two different crowns. One is just this nice, you know, kind of traditional witch's crown top. And the other one is like a big one, like a long one that crinkles. You can crinkle down. Am I going to regret it if I make it out of the small one since I have enough fabric? Let me look at the other pattern piece.
Since this might not be as stiff as it should be because I don't have the right interfacing, maybe making one that intentionally kind of crumples is the way to go. So where's my nap? I need a nap. Okay, my nap goes down that way. I want it that way. So, yeah, that's what I want. Yes. Try to preserve as much extra of the extra fabric as possible in case there's something else I want to do with the remnants of this fabric. Because, you know, we don't ever throw anything away around here. Okay. So why do I need a nap today? Did you ask? Of course you asked why I needed a nap today. Well, I talked about this in another video, but it's not one that's been published yet because it's about the fence and the fence isn't done yet. My old man here, the only man I choose to share my life with right now, Castiel, heaven's missing an angel, my lab, my boy, he has not been feeling well lately. And he turned 13 this summer. I think I've mentioned that. He had a birthday. And 13 is the oldest I have ever had a dog live in my lifetime. Sad, isn't it? And, well, he hasn't been feeling well lately. And I called the vet Friday because I knew going into the weekend, there are no emergency vets around here that are just, you know, a place that you can, like an urgent care. We have those in other places I've lived in the past, but this town isn't big enough. They do have emergency. I mean, your vet will be available in emergency. There's an emergency number that you can call. So problem is I have neglected to get he and Miss Lilith into the vet yet this fall for their annual exams. They're due right now. So I don't have a relationship with a vet. So I called the vet that I've chosen Friday, explained the situation to them. And they're like, well, we don't have any availability until Wednesday morning. So tomorrow he's going to the vet. I really wish he were going to the vet yesterday, but he's stable. He's fine. Well, he's not fine, but he does okay during the day, although he's in there pacing around because he really likes to just be with me. That's not new. So he likes to just be with me most of the time, and he does have a bed in here, but I'm moving around too much, and it makes him nervous when he's not feeling well. So he's out there. He keeps checking on me and going back to his bed. He does pretty well during the day. It's in the evening and at nighttime that he has a little harder time. So, night before last, he did really well. I've been moving his bed into the bedroom with me, so he sleeps in the bedroom with me, and that makes him much happier. Makes both of us much happier. I can keep an eye on him, and he can keep an eye on me, I guess, is where it's at. And last night, however, and the night before last, he woke up in the middle of the night, quite agitated, quite uncomfortable. He has been needing to go out potty in the night much more. Well, he's never been one to wake me up at night unless he's ill, to need to go outside. So he's needed to do that a few times. Last night he did that. He was very adamant, I can tell. So we went outside. He did his business. He came back in. He went in the bedroom with me. He just wouldn't settle down. And at this point, I'm awake. I'm anxious and worked up a little bit. So I get up, tried going out back with him, because sometimes the backyard he's a little more comfortable in than the front yard. Just don't have any good lighting back there currently, so I don't like going out there in the middle of the night. The stars were gorgeous last night, though. It was very clear and beautiful. We were out there for a while. Then he came in. He just couldn't settle. I made a cup of chamomile tea and drank that, watched This Old House on YouTube because that's my happy place, I guess. And eventually came back in the bedroom and he started to settle. Long story short, from about 1 a.m. to about almost 4 a.m., we were awake, both of us. And he'd start to settle, and then little Miss Lilith stink butt here, she wants to cuddle with him. She's not trying to be mean, but he gets especially when he's not feeling well, he gets agitated. So she would try to lay on the bed with him, and he wasn't having that. So then he'd get up, and then he's not comfortable. So then it takes him a while to get laid back down again in such a way that he's comfortable. And it was a while, but we did fall back asleep. I said like somewhere around 4 a.m. But then we both woke up at 7 a.m. So now I did go to bed quite early last night because I was a wreck after my fence day 7,026 of my fence project. So back to the story about Mr. Castiel. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I think I know what the problem is. I think I know what's going on with him other than just old age, which, if I'm right, can go either way. It can be a big deal, especially at his age. No. Or it can be not so big of a deal. So I'm hoping for a very treatable big deal, I guess is a better way to put it. So I'm hoping it's the very treatable and just take time and love. And I have all of that right now for him. Pins. So fingers crossed, by the time you see this video, probably, unless I get this whole hat done today and, get it all uploaded and edited and all the things. And I have a kitten pulling on my fleece on the bottom down here. Hey, no, she's caught. Get your claws out of there, stinky. By the time you see this, I will have answers. And I promise I will share the situation with all y'all. Lilith tends to end up being the star of the show a lot of the time, but he's definitely got a very special place in my heart and in my life. Don't know what I would have done without him over the last couple of years. Between, we had another dog that got them both just a few months apart from each other. Actually more months apart from each other than their age would indicate, but he was 8 months old when I got him. So, because I didn't want another lab. I was done. I was done with the love that is labby love. I given my heart and broken that heart too many times with Labrador retrievers, and I was done. Wasn't going to do it again. Wasn't going to go through that pain again. Here we are. So, but so he was with me when we had to, well, not physically in the room with me when we had to say goodbye to his lifelong friend Maisie and nemesis. She was a little of both. I lost my other black cat, my all black cat, my familiar Ozzy, just this year. And of course, he was born in Illinois, moved from Illinois with us to Tennessee, went through all of that change, was my constant companion when my girls went off to school and I became a empty nester and all that funness. And of course, he's been with me for the last year through becoming a single woman after 30 plus years of being a mom and wife. So we've been through a lot together. We're going to go through a lot more together, let's hope. And I'm here for him in any way I need to be. So let's go back to making a witch's hat. I didn't print out the instructions. I watched the video. It's pretty straightforward. You fuse the interfacing onto the parts. Then you sew the crown of the hat, turn it right side out. You use the interfacing to the inside of the brim of the hat. Then you sandwich that together and you put the binding, which I got to figure out, around the outside edge. And then you do not put the wire in yet. Then you sew the crown to the brim, and then you insert the wire inside. You leave an opening in the binding and you insert the wire. That's the basics that I recall. That's what makes sense to me. This is a fusible interfacing. Somewhere there's our instructions, and it obviously goes on the back. So I'm going to line these back up again. Let's go get the sewing machine set up. This is exciting. Watching someone thread their sewing machine. Okay. Oops. Here's my helpful hardware tip. No, my helpful sewing machine, keep it good. Never pull your thread back out backwards when you're changing thread. Always cut it at the thread spool and pull it out through the needle. Your machine is not designed for the thread to go backwards. Oh, I'll lose that if I put that in there. I know I will. Put it where it belongs. Okay. I used to scoff at the idea of an automatic needle threader on a machine. Like, who would ever need that? And then I got old. So here we are. Okay, so I am going to sew this seam of the hat. There are pins somewhere. Oops. See, yeah, that, I don't know if maybe if that's old. I know it's old. It's been in my stash for a while. Or it doesn't like to bond to this polyester. But this craft bond stuff, this fusible fleece, ain't quite cutting it today. Okay, set that aside. Now, I don't recall if the instructions said to kind of like sew this together before you put the binding on it or not. That seems like an intelligent thing to do. Again, these are not quite lining up because of the stretchiness of everything. I don't know. It's not stretchy. I'm not. It's slinky. If you're wanting to do this, I would suggest a very lightweight fleece, perhaps. She did say in her instructions that her video that something slightly stretchy would be a good thing. Let's see, that's not. Oh, what on earth is happening here? I'm having a problem. So many problems. Okay, we're gonna do it this way. So I just don't know if, I mean, this is going to be lovely and it's going to be fine. I will make it so. Make it so. I was wanting a fabric shop called Make It So. I did. And, but I also didn't want whoever owns Gene Roddenberry's estate coming at me. So, oh, and when I was speaking about Cass earlier, I know that I have a very special viewer that watches my channel mainly for Cass content. His name is Emmett. And Emmett, I can't remember. Are you 5 now? How old are you? You're like 5 going on 35. I know that because you're a smart little guy. And Cass has Cass's cousin. I think they're cousins. Dogs have family trees. Well, these two do. Trust me. And Cass's cousin Jack lives with Emmett and his little brother Charlie and his mom and dad up in Wisconsin. They're up there, cheeseheads up there in Wisconsin. And Emmett doesn't talk like that, I guarantee it. his daddy's Australian. He probably has an adorable accent. I have no idea. Actually, I do. I've seen videos of him. He's a cutie. You're a cutie, Emmett, if you're watching this. So, but his mom is a sewing friend of mine. That's how we met initially years ago. And we've stayed friends. And she had, at the time, two of the tiniest and most adorable little Yorkies that she would bring with her all the time. And I just love them. And then she moved to Wisconsin and they wanted a family dog, and they got one of the best ones. But I just wanted to give a little shout out to Emmett and Charlie and Jack. I've been meaning to do that for a while because his mom told me that they watch my channel at bedtime, and he always is asking if Cass has another video up. So I've been trying to include Cass in as many videos as possible lately. All right, that's probably overkill on the pins, but on curves, there's never too many pins, I don't think, especially with slippery fabric like this. So I think I'm going to give a little stay stitch or a little basting stitch around both edges of this just to keep everything in place. Thing is, Emmett's mom is like a master seamstress too, and more so than I am. She makes amazing patterns. Dog Under Your Desk patterns. I'll try to remember to link them in the show notes or in the description below, because if you want to make bags, her patterns are so good. I'm not much of a bag maker anymore, but if I were, those are my favorites. So Erin, if you are watching this with Emmett, which I'm assuming you are, please don't judge my the way I'm kind of winging it, because I know you don't wing it. You test things 100 times and they turn out beautifully every time. Well, that's why they turn out so lovely when you make things, because you test and you try. So you get it right. I fart around and figure it out. Okay, we have a hat, a crown. I think that'll go in. All right, we need to turn it right side out. Wearing a black outfit while working on black fabric on an overcast day does not make my old lady eyes very happy. Now, somewhere I have a pokey stick. That is my technical term for it, the pokey stick, that I use to poke things when I need to turn them right side out. I gotta find it. My pokey stick. A chopstick works just fine, but if anybody knows, I think this is it actually, its purpose is for what I use it for, but I don't remember where I got it. When I got it, or what it's called. But when I used to do doll making, and had a lot of little fingers, well, this wouldn't work for fingers. I have turning tubes for fingers, but small doll parts that I had to turn right side out. This worked very well because it's got a little ball point on it. And so it doesn't poke right through. Okay, that's going to be good enough. Okay, so here, look at me. So she said to try the top of the hat on. Oh, I have a big ass noggin. Because she's like, it might seem really big, but it'll come down over your head. But so yeah, it's very tall. But see, the idea is that you kind of give it a little something to kind of give it a little. I'll do that when I'm done. But I want to kind of keep it. You kind of give it a shape. But right now, it is the perfect dunce cap, which seems appropriate for how I'm feeling today. Or a gnome. It could be a gnome. Okay, let's do the brim. So I'm back here in my creative space, and that means that the fence is done. I have a few more B-reels and to do to get that edited and up, but that big job is done. So I am going to take advantage of having one big job done and give myself a little break. And I'm back in here to finish my witch hat. When I last left you on this project, I was trying to bind the edge with found materials around the house. I thought I could do it. It just was giving me a hassle because I didn't have the proper materials. I didn't have the bias binding tape that the instructions asked for. I thought I could make it work. In hindsight, I can see what I could have done differently. But anyway, at the end of the day, after my battery died and everything was dead. I was dead. My recording devices were dead. I put the project aside for the day, and I just wasn't happy with it. It just was, I couldn't figure out a way to make it look good. The next morning, before starting back on my fence project, I happened to turn on YouTube while I was drinking my tea, and I found another YouTuber gal who was doing a similar witch hat, and I liked her technique of putting in the wire and everything better than the bound edge. So I will link both videos in the description for this project. And basically I'm using the pattern from one because I like the more oval shaped, I better do it this way so you can see it, the more oval shaped brim with the narrow back and the wider sides, the more portrait type brim. But I liked the construction techniques of the other gal. So both of those will be in there, and I am going to go back to this. And what I ended up doing was just cutting off my failed attempt at binding the edge. And so my brim is going to be like a centimeter smaller than the pattern, but it'll work for now. It'll work. I mean, it's not fitted, it's a brim. So I'm going to do that today. So I might show you some of the steps along the way, but again, this isn't really a tutorial. I'm going to link to the 2 tutorials that I used in my description, and I want you to go give them the views because they did all the hard work. I'm just following along, and we'll have another morning of sewing. Hopefully this won't take me all flippin' day like it was taking me the other day. And let's get sewing. So one of the things that I liked about the other one was that she didn't use a iron-on interfacing, and this one, even though it is an iron-on, is not sticking to this fabric. So what she did was she zigzagged around the edge and then hand sewed the wire on, and then, I also like the way she did it. She had the pattern piece cut out of the interfacing, but then just put the interfacing piece on top of a larger piece of finished fabric and zigzagged it around, and then did it right sides together, and then trimmed away the edges. It's too late for me to do that unless I start it all over again, and I'm not going to do that. So again, I am kind of just making do, but I am going to go around and zigzag around this edge to adhere these 2 layers together, and I will probably do the same around the inside, and then I have this one piece that's kind of working all together. Okay. Okay, I have gathered most of my supplies. I'm going to get some thread here. I'm not going to be too picky about color as I get picky about color. Actually, I wanted to find a heavier thread.
I know I have some jeans thread in here somewhere. Probably put away somewhere special, and now I don't know where that is. What's this? What's this? That's it. Okay, and then a needle. So I have clipped my wire. It's longer than I'm going to need, and it's going to poke me in the face. But I'll trim it after I've sewed it on. So I'm just going to whip this around, whip stitch this around the edge. All right, I'm almost halfway around the brim of the hat, and I'm noticing a few things. And I'm gonna figure it out when I get to that point. One, I think this particular wire is slightly too heavy of a gauge for this purpose. I don't think I'm going to be able to get the moldability that I'd ideally like, but it'll definitely hold the brim out. It'll work for that, but I might not be able to get the to be able to bend it and be all cute. I also realized about halfway around that I'm just whipping these stitches in here, and I didn't use black thread because I didn't think it mattered, but I have checked the right side, and so I'm trying to leave myself an edge here for seam allowance that my stitches are going to show on the other side. So I got to decide. Again, if I'm trying a little bit more now to get this just stitched to the interfacing rather than go all the way through, but I'm also trying to be quick. So that might cause a problem, at least a visual problem. And again, if I had used black thread, it wouldn't be a problem at all, but I want to do it again. In the instructions that I'm kind of cobbling together here, the one that the gal who did it this way, she just sewed the wire to her interfacing because her interfacing was stiff, multi-layered, and then she sewed everything together, which, again, if I hadn't already done this part, if I make another one of these, I will use all the things that I did wrong as a lesson on how to do them right. So just, again, do what they say, not what I do. How about that for a life lesson for you? And what was the other thing I learned? Wire is too thick. My stitches are going through the back side, and I guess for now, that's the lessons I've learned so far on this project. Let's just keep whipping it together here and see what we end up with at the end of the day. Because I'm wondering if I stitch on this side of the wire rather than the seam allowance side of the wire when I stitch everything together, then the wire is in the seam allowance. But then when I turn it right side out, is it gonna be too thick in there? There's a lot more physics and geometry to sewing than you assume when you just. Physics might not be the case here. Well, except for gravity making this hat floppy.
I might look like a goth 70s bridesmaid when this is all done. There's a vision. There's a Halloween costume idea for you. So anyway, and you youngsters that didn't go to any weddings in the 70s, didn't have cool cousins that had really awesome, beautiful bridesmaids wearing the big 70s floppy hats, don't know what I'm talking about. But it was definitely a thing. And I remember being a little girl going, I want to be in a wedding where I get to wear a big floppy hat. That never happened. Probably for the best. I also just went back to a single thread instead of a double thread because it was giving me more problems than it was worth. And so, yeah. I have until next year. I have a whole year to make another witch's hat for next Halloween. So we'll just let this be what it is. So, all right, that's about the halfway point. Keep going. See you on the other side. Okay, do we have a little bit of educational content in this video? I don't know if I've ever showed you this before, but I'm going to show you 2 tricks to hand sewing, 2 little things that I use every day. And I have hand sewed in front of other people and they're like, I've never seen it done like that. So I didn't know this was a thing that other people didn't know, but maybe it is for you. So instead of stabbing never lick your thread, first of all. Make sure you just have a nice fresh cut on the end of your thread. And you never try to stab the thread into the hole of the needle. Instead, hold your thread between your pointer finger and your thumb, and then put the needle, now usually I do this in one thing, onto the thread. So you're threading the needle onto the thread rather than the thread into the needle. And then there it is. Simple. Now, I learned how to tie a knot on the end of my thread in a different way, but I did learn this a number of years ago, to tie a knot in the end of your thread. I hope you can see this. So, okay, you're going to put your thread there. You're going to pinch the, come on, focus camera, the tail of the thread between the pad of your finger and the needle. And then you're going to wrap the thread around the tip of the needle. It's one of those things I do automatically, so when I have to tell somebody, then you're pinching everything. And you're going to pinch, and you're just going to pinch that wrap and you're going to pull the whole thread through. Oops. And there you have the knot on the end. It's not quite the end, but close enough. Very quick, easy way to thread and knot your needle. So that's the educational content for today. Something else I'm going to have to improvise a little bit is, since I don't have one of those butt crimps tubes or whatever they are that you can butt the 2 ends of the wire together and crimp them in, I don't have one of those. And this wire is kind of too thick, I think, to double back on itself. So I'm just going to overlap it by a couple inches and take electrical tape. And because this is the only tape I could find. And I haven't quite finished sewing the edge, but I figured this will be easier to do. And wrap the 2 ends together. All right, I think that will work. Yeah, I think that'll work. Will all be sewn in there. And I think I did it at the right circumference. Yes. So I'll finish sewing this together. Another thing I did not think about when I started this, I just started it. This joint is going to be right at the front of the hat. Would have been smarter to have it back in the back. But, you know, hey, nothing about this project has gone very well as I would do it if I were thinking about it better. So why should this be any different? Okay, also when you're cutting your wire, get wire cutters of some kind rather than don't use your scissors. This wire is way too thick. I wouldn't be able to use scissors either way, but let's finish wrapping this up here. Where's my needle? There it is. Where is the other part of the hat? Here it is. Okay. I'm going to try to match this up as best I can. This fabric is just finicky. That's just a matter of, that's just velvet for you. So I think, okay. Let's head back over to the machine and see what we end up with here. Yeah, I think it's going to be best if I sew on the inside. Okay, so I want to change my foot out to this zipper foot. And so I'm going to line this up here with the foot just inside. Oops, I got a thread under my foot. Just inside the, running right along the inside of the wire. And I can move my needle over. So it's one backwards pin. This is why I had to went around and change my pins. It's because you can't take them out from the front. Okay, here's the moment of truth. And let's see how we did. And we got some puckers. Little puckers. Oh, and it's, yeah, see, this is what's happened. Ooh, that's really happened. That's an issue. See, it doesn't line up there, and that's way off the edge there, and we got puckers. My 4-H leader would make me redo it. I wonder if I could just shift it enough. Let's see. See, because it's not. Oh, wow. What the heck did I do? I completely missed it on this side. I thought I had it lined up better than that. How did I miss it that much? Okay. We got to fix this. I swear to you, I am better than this. Ouch! Really am. And I usually don't nail myself with a pin either while doing it. Okay. This was kind of the problem I was having when I was trying to put the binding on. Was that the 3 layers just weren't staying properly together, and even when I tried to sew them, they weren't staying properly together, and it's frustrating. Daylight's out. Way back here, it's not barely. It's barely hanging on. Okay, come on. Alrighty. Let's try that again. Okay, let's get all these pins out of here so I don't impale myself when I put this thing on. Okay, let's turn this, hopefully. Oh, there's another one of my pet peeves. Because, I know that's what you really tune into this channel for, is to see what's bugging Beth. Hey, maybe that's a thing. But it's a very minor pet peeve, and it's so petty and annoying, probably. But watching, mainly it's like craft and sewing videos and things of when they're doing this process. We're going to turn it inside out. No, you're turning it right side out. You sewed it inside out, and now it's coming right side out. Or at least let's hope it is. So again, it's semantics. It's a very petty thing, but I've noticed it a lot. Ooh, I think we got a little spot here, a little spot there, but you know what? That's nothing that a little hand sewing won't fix. And I think this is going to work. I think it's going to work. And I gotta kind of pull and tug to get the seam right on the edge. Oh, maybe this is not right because I'm not right. But I think if I pull these together and I stitch this around, let's see what it looks like at least. Okay, it's got an Elphaba kind of feel, or a American Horror Story witch kind of feel. But this might be the swoop. Oh yeah, this is very wicked. I got them. So I think that's the back. Yeah. I might not be able to shape this wire any more than it wants to do on its own, which is okay. I think that's okay. So, all right, let's keep at it. Yeah. All right. I'm going to keep working without the distraction of filming, and then you'll get to see if I made it happen. So here is the finished hat. It worked out okay. I had a little bit of fussing and farting having to do to get the crown and the brim to fit together, but I eventually got it together. And then this was me trying to add the decorations with the hot glue, the lace, the cobweb lace that I had from that little petticoat. And I also will show you here shortly some other embellishments that I added to it. But pretty soon here, I'm going to lean forward and my hair is going to get in the way and you're not going to see what I'm doing. So we'll do the best we can through the curtain of hag hair that soon shows up. So I had this little package of dyed feathers, and so I hot glued those to the side, one or two at a time. And again, you're not going to be able to see most of it because of that. Yeah, I'm sorry. So here I'm adding a black velvet ribbon or velvet rose that I made out of some of the remaining black velvet fabric. I tried to record the making of that and my camera didn't work right. So again, I apologize. Maybe that will be a future separate video. And again, you can't really see how I am fixing it, but it's just a good gob of black or of hot glue. But there you can see a little bit. Oh, you could. No, there you go. Well, yeah, there you go. You can see the black velvet rose. And then I'm just adding some more glue behind the feathers just to kind of affix them to the crown so that they don't flop around too much. And we're almost done with embellishing.
Now, this project, I love the results. The process, well, let's say I needed a few more tricks up my sleeve. It's fun to make this witch's hat, and it gave me a nice break from house painting and other house projects. So, and I just enjoyed spending some time in my sewing room, and I hope you'll enjoy spending some time with me in there and chit-chatting while we make a witch's hat.
So an update on the old man. Here he was at the vet that morning. You can see he's very happy to be at the vet. He's a happy boy. And they examined him. My worst fears were not realized, luckily. But you can see he's not real happy sitting sometimes. It gets a little uncomfortable. We discovered he has some arthritis and some muscle atrophy. And we put him on a mild pain reliever for the worst days. And I have to say, for the next few days after, he's been doing great. Sleeping well at night, moving around happily, and he doesn't seem to be as uncomfortable anymore. So yay for that. And he's still wagging his tail.